Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a video that's come as a result of last week's video. I did, as an April Fool's joke, my top 10 coasters, in which I did a list of coasters which clearly weren't my top 10. And so today I thought I'd actually do my real top 10. This one isn't a joke, this is my proper top 10. Because as I said last week, I haven't actually done an update in a long time regarding my top 10 coasters. So what better time to do it than now? So number 10 then, it entered the list back in 2016 as my number 2, I think. It is Gardaland's very own Oblivion the Black Hole. The coaster itself on this is really good. It's got that vertical drop, obviously. It's not the longest coaster, but I don't particularly look for the duration in rides because long rides tend to peter out anyway. I look for the incredible moments in coasters, really. And the vertical drop and most of what comes after it is really good on this ride. The two inversions are two brilliant inversions, but it's not just the coaster that I like with this. It's the theme in the entire indoor section of the queue line, which is basically all of the queue line, is really well done. And yeah, just the entire experience with Oblivion the Black Hole is really good. In at number 9 then, it is from last year's trip, which was to Europa Park. It is Woden. Controversially low down, I think some people would say. I do rate it, obviously, with it being in my top 10, but I don't rate it as highly as some other people, and there's people who would have this one in top spot 1 or spot 2 if you look at the rest of my list. But I think Woden, it's still an incredible coaster. Yeah, it's intense, it's really good fun, but I just think it's not as good as some of the other coasters I've got on this list. I have got another GCI Woody on this list later on. I think you can probably guess what that is. But I just think Woden, yeah, it's a good coaster. It's fast, it's fun, but it just kind of lacks on some of the theming elements, and I prefer an overall experience rather than just the coaster. Coming in at number 8 is probably something which completely just contradicts the statement I just made. It's Stealth at Thorpe Park. Barely any theming, I suppose, but as I said in regards to Oblivion the Black Hole, I just love moments on rides, and the entire launch and top hat, basically the entire ride of this one, is really good. In at number 7, it was only here in the UK for a short amount of time, and I did get to experience it last Christmas. It is, of course, Olympia Looping. I got 2 rides on it, and I loved both of them. It's so fast at times, but the forces on it are really what does make it incredible. It's so intense. That first inversion coming out of that black loop is really good, and then the rest of it is just a really good fun time. In at number 6 is probably the coaster that spent the longest amount of time in my top 10. I don't think it's ever been out of my top 10. My first ever list I drafted up was had this coaster in at number 1. It is actually Nemesis at Alton Towers, the Beast. It was my number 1 for a long time before I made my trip down to Thorpe Park. Yeah, it's one of the greatest coasters in the UK. Those inversions are really good fun as well. I love them. The vertical loop is definitely the best inversion, but then that first corkscrew is really good fun as well. The way it uses its terrain as well is just incredible. It's really well thought out. In at number 5 then, as I said, it is the coaster that eventually pipped Nemesis for my number 1 spot a while back. It is Swarm at Thorpe Park. I just find this so enjoyable. It's nice and smooth. I believe it's the left-hand side I preferred on it. It's got some really good head chopper moments. The first drop's fun. It's just an all-round really enjoyable coaster, and I love the Swarm. In at number 4 then, it is another coaster from Europa Park. It is Silver Star. Silver Star actually took me by surprise. I'd heard quite a lot of reviews from people saying, yeah, it's quite weak, it's not very good. But from my ride on it, Silver Star is actually a really good coaster. Its first drop is really good fun, it's smooth. It does peter out a bit towards the end, you could say, but I just think it's an all-round great coaster. It's really good fun. Granted, the car park aspect of it maybe isn't the greatest, but I just think Silver Star's a great coaster, and that's why I've got it at number 4. In at number 3 then, it is the latest addition to this list. It is Wicker Man at Alton Towers. I rode this for the first time about 3 weeks ago, and I've had, how many, 5 rides on it now, something along them lines. And yeah, it's a really good coaster, Wicker Man. The theming is absolutely incredible. It really does break the boundaries for UK parks and hopefully inspires other UK parks to put that much effort into theming, because it's been shown here what an impact theming can actually have on a ride. It's got a brilliant soundtrack from IMAscore. It's got incredible theming, as I've said. That pre-show from Holovis is insanely good. And then the ride itself is so fast, it's so enjoyable. The interactions with the Wicker Man structure were better than I was expecting. I was expecting not really to be able to see them, but that main run where you fly through the chest is incredible. It's got some good airtime moments. That airtime hill after you've come round the unbanked corner into that airtime hill is really good fun. And then the first 2 drops as well are insanely good as well. Wicker Man is one of the best coasters in the UK. In fact, as I've said there, my favourite coaster in the UK. In at number 2 then, it's the final coaster on this list from Europa Park. It is Blue Fire Mega Coaster, as it's called. It's not a mega coaster, but it's called Blue Fire Mega Coaster. Yeah, so smooth. The smoothest coaster I've ever been on. So fun and enjoyable. Yeah, sure, not the most powerful launch, but a really fun launch. And I don't think it needs to be powerful because of what it does. I just think because the launch isn't so powerful, it allows the rest of the ride to do what it wants to do, and that is slow, hang time, full inversions, and that is what this ride offers. That vertical loop is absolutely insane. It's huge, but it's so fun. Just before that, the overbank as well is really good fun. I think, though, the best inversion and the best moment of the ride is that last barrel roll or heartline roll. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's a heartline roll. Yeah, that's really good fun as well. Blue Fire is just a smooth, fun coaster you could just sit back, put your hands up for and enjoy. It is really good fun. And then the whole restraint system with it not being OTSR, these kind of new restraints are something I am really excited for coming to more and more coasters. And Blue Fire, one thing it does do for me is get me really, really excited for Icon, because if it's anything like Blue Fire, it's going to be insane, and it could possibly even challenge number 1. Speaking of number 1 then, it is of course from Phantasialand, Taron. The launches on this are really, really good. That second launch is incredible. It's so intense. It's got brilliant airtime moments in it. It does have a bit of a rattle, but it does not hinder the experience at all. It is so well themed. The entire area is brilliantly done. It's got an amazing soundtrack. I don't think there's anything you can take away from this coaster. I suppose you could say that it doesn't have inversions, but great coasters, as we've said before, don't need inversions. Wicker Man is my number 3. That doesn't have inversions. Great coasters don't need inversions. Great coasters just need to be fast, fun, and airtime packed. And that's what this is, in my opinion, the greatest coaster I've ever been on. Tell me in the comments below your list. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like if you like this kind of video. Subscribe if you're new around here. And until next time, goodbye.